Ooh, hi everybody. Welcome back. We're here for the Burb automation stream. We're going to be covering for the past two episodes, we've been going through a content flow and challenges with a student journey with Carrie Melissa Jones's course. I'm, as always, Drew Dillon, CEO of Burb. And Steph, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah, I'm Steph Balabas with Burb as well. Hello.
Our operations wizard, and Philip James will not be joining us today. He's off speaking at a conference. He's big timing us, but we will have some fun today. But yeah, thought I'd do a quick recap before we turn it over to Steph. As we covered in the past two episodes, first piece, Carrie's got this email system kind of working right now in Convertkit. The challenge is ultimately that she's selling three different products, some of which are time-based, some of which might have different users. And so what we really wanted to look at, and as Steph recommended to us last week, how do we understand who these folks are, what product they might be interested in, and then there's a whole bunch of magic that Steph has promised us around, how to do a time-based offering in an evergreen kind of email flow, which I'm pretty excited to see. So with that, I will stop sharing. Yes, Steph, anything you want to do to introduce the concepts?
Oh gosh, I think today the first thing I'd want to introduce is just the fact that Convertkit can do a lot of different things. If you think of an idea that might work for either your community or how the type of content you have available or ways to flex with it, like Convertkit can pretty much figure out a way to use it. And so what I'll be building today is just something, an example, of what could be used, and then a couple of the tricks that Convertkit has in their liquid functioning, which really allows you to get like super specific depending on the traits of the users. So what I'll build today is not the only way to do it. It's like one example, and I think that's pretty much what I'll be saying. We'll go with the flow and see what works, and hopefully some of it will work for Carrie.
Awesome. Yeah, excited to check it out.
Okay, let me try to share my screen.
Philip is also our StreamYard expert, so if anything comes up slow or we accidentally end the feed early.
All right, I am sharing. Okay, great.
There it is.
Great. So we'll start out. We have access to Carrie's Convertkit. Also pull up her website, which will show a few of her already like existing funnels that she has that we can leverage. So here's Carrie's website. I know on her work page on services, she has a few areas where people can already put in their information. So she's acquiring emails in a couple different ways. There's, let's see, a free kind of a freebie download now file where you can get online events. So this is, you click into it and it's already connected to Convertkit, where the user enters their email and their address, right? So she already has built some really cool lead gen opportunities within her website that's connected to Convertkit. So what we'll be doing here is just kind of leveraging that. Like she doesn't have to start completely from scratch. She's already has places where she's downloading resources. So we'll go through this. And then also the page that we'll be able to link this, I guess, in the either in the chat, but there's two things that I use all the time. One is just the Convertkit article how-to section. So they have a great site on advanced email personalization with Liquid. And so this really is how I start everything. It's a copy-paste test till it works. Another tool that I often use is the Convertkit Liquid Tester. So you can test stuff out before anything goes live in Convertkit. And so I don't know. I'm going to send these two links to you, Drew. I'm not sure the best way to get that to you. I'll send it to you over here.
Yeah, and we'll put them. Let's see. Well, we can put them on the YouTube, and we send it as well. Let's see.
Well, I sent it to you like in a little chat that we're working off of. Okay, so to start, one thing that Carrie was talking about is that she sends most of her general newsletters as broadcasts. So in Convertkit, to send a broadcast, you send, and you really just send these one-off emails. And so it's up to her to, whatever their frequency is, once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month, to come up with content, to plug it in a single email, send it to either everyone in her mailing list or a segmented audience, and just clicking send. And so that's working. And I'm actually going to show a few tricks to personalize that, but maybe near the end. Because the main thing I want to focus on is how to create just like a general sequence that already contains the information that like Carrie has. Carrie has courses, Carrie has email courses, she has live cohort-based things. She's brimming with content. Most of that's paid, but one of the best ways to like generate leads is to just give them a taste. So I'm hoping that what we'll build today, Carrie can then look at and just start putting in her existing content in different ways. So to start, I'm going to go to Convertkit sequences.
And as a reminder for folks who hadn't seen the previous two, the 3 different course offerings. One is an email course that's kind of a companion for her book. Another one is on leading communities, and the third one is on engaging in communities. And I think it's the leading that's actually the cohort-based offering, and the other one is a more evergreen offering through Podia.
Yeah, it's the engage your online community is the cohort-based one. So
Okay,
that one
backwards.
is, yes. So yeah, those are the 3 courses. So 2 of them are available anytime, kind of on different audiences. The third one is where we'll get kind of even more specific because enrollment's not open all the time. Like she has a wait list that's available, but mainly she wants to continuously let people know about it, but really when it's open, that's when people need to know. So I'm going to start with new sequence here. I'm going to call this, I don't know. We'll call this verb sequence so Carrie can go back and rename it whatever she would like. Okay, so the thought being for this sequence is that she can either start by sending it to her entire mailing list that she has right now, or perhaps even segmented by if someone has not purchased anything before, they can start going into an automation once we built that, or she can just start fresh. So like every new subscriber she gets in can go into the sequence. So that's really up to her, and we'll go into the automate section in a minute to go through that. But the thought being, oftentimes when someone joins a mailing list, you don't know anything about them. You know their name and their email. And so surely she has information that's just, who she is. And what she offers, right? So some of that static introductory language could go here, but people probably only have a taste of all that she has to offer. And so the initial thing that we want to do here in this first email is get a little bit more information from the user. And the ways you can do that is either creating like a question, like what are you interested in? Is that typing? The computer's being so slow, of course. Yeah, so what are you interested in? You know, could be the most basic type question, or it could be, you know, thanks for joining. I'd love to give you something else for free.
And Philip and I played around with this a little bit. You can use links and the rules engine to actually start to segment people based on, you know, clicks here, which I thought was pretty cool.
Exactly. I think you know exactly what I'm about to do, Drew.
I know the 101 level of what you're about to do.
Yes. Okay, so I'd love to give you something for free. Like, what would you like? Like, what are you interested in here? Oh my goodness, my computer is not letting me type. Okay. And this is where we can start thinking about where she wants to segment her topics. And this is where I'm just going to guess what she might be interested in. So maybe she has enough content to do like a 3 email sequence on event planning, right? So if someone's joined her newsletter, maybe they like event planning. Maybe they're more interested in really solid community guidelines, or maybe they're more interested in marketing funnels. This is all arbitrary, and this can be very specific to your audience, whatever your topic is. But this can give someone like an immediate way for them kind of to self-direct their journey within your content. And so bullet pointing these, each one of these, there's 2 ways to approach this. And so in order to add tags to make things clickable in Convertkit, this text has to link somewhere. So there's like 2-3 different ways you can do this. One is you can create like a static landing page that just says, thanks for your feedback. I bet Carrie has one of those somewhere. But let's pretend it's just google.com. So instead of that being Google, it would be a page that says, thank you for letting us know what you're into. You'll hear back from us soon. Another option would be to create a like Typeform survey where you could create that in a whole separate space, or you could create an Airtable survey, whatever it might be, where you get even more information, right? So it's like, thank you for letting us know you're into community guidelines. Also, do you already have a community? What time zone are you in? What other things, or is there anything you would like me to know? So depending on the level of input you want at this point, you can point this to like a survey. Or you could point this like directly to content. So instead of creating a new email sequence, it can be like, oh, you're into marketing funnels. Good thing you can go to my website where I have, you know, a whole PDF on marketing funnels. You can create that link. So now these 3 things become clickable, which is where we can start adding tags. So when you go to the link button, there's something called link triggers, and you can tag subscribers who click this link. So by clicking this, you can create, I created a few of these. Yeah, interest event planning. So I already made that one. When someone receives this email, now when they click it, they will get a tag. Hopefully it'll work. They will get the tag interest event planning. Yeah. I don't know why it's dark like that. But let's just go with it because we're just testing here. For community guidelines, you do the same. So tag subscribers who click this link. The tag would be interest community guidelines. Link. And then I don't think I made a test one for marketing funnels, but that's okay. Because what you can do, tag subscribers, type interest marketing funnels, and create new tag. So you can do that all from the one spot.
Nice.
Okay, so this is a very basic email, but essentially this gives you that little piece of information that lets you target your audience. And so, welcome to the newsletter, be the subject line. Someone maybe gets this immediately once they sign up. And let's publish it. So where do I want to go next? I think the way that this could be interesting is that this is really a hook at this point, right? So if someone just signed up for your newsletter, you may not want to pitch them to buy something immediately. This is really good if you do have a piece of content already on event planning. You can just send them over a little happy, or you could create an email sequence on event planning, 3 emails in a row, 3 emails on community guidelines, depending on what they do. And within those, start including information about the available courses. Now, I think for Carrie's courses, like Drew, as you mentioned, the topics are like foundations, leading communities, and engaging your online communities. That doesn't quite match perfectly with this, right? Like maybe in an ideal world, this would be like, are you interested in foundations or leading or but since those are a little broad of topics, it's a little too targeted. So
I was thinking, the final piece here will be bringing Carrie back in to figure out that Venn diagram, like what fits in each section that might indicate that somebody fits in this bucket versus that bucket.
Yeah. So this is like just continuing to get people involved and interested. I mean, the more they like Carrie, the more they're going to want to buy her products.
Yeah, another interesting thing that I've seen a lot is also like when you do, like if the person does end up in a sales funnel through some level of activity or whatever, that there's like a get me out of the sales funnel. Like I'm not actually interested in this product link. And I think that's a great kind of a respectful sort of thing that I think Carrie will like to have in there as well.
Totally. Okay, let's see where to go next. See what this could look like as an automation. So let's say you do want to have like 3 sequences, or 3 sequences all in the same automation. Let's create a new one. So sequences are like the series of emails, and the automations are how the emails get to the individual users. There's lots of examples. I always just start from scratch. Probably not the wisest thing to do. Probably could use the templates. But let's say this can just be anyone who is joining her. I think I created this, like general newsletter form. And I'm not quite sure, but let's say that one just links to this, right? So at the bottom of her website, it's like, get updates on Carrie, right? Not specific to anything. They're not downloading a product. Very general. You don't know anything about them. So we can build this automation to start there. So whenever somebody subscribes to the general newsletter, they can immediately get that email sequence we just built, which I think bird sequence 1, that's what we named it. From here is where we can like start segmenting things. So let's see if subscriber has the tag interest. This is where I just test to see how Convertkit works.
Yeah, this stuff's funny because when you get into these levels of detail in the automation pages where the different email providers are all slightly different. I've used what was the one I built a sequence in recently? The thing that I like about Convertkit is that it calls into sequences, and in other ones you have to build like a whole tree. You have to build your own kind of sequence with all the logic in between and the delays, which makes the tree just crazily complicated when you start doing that kind of stuff.
Okay, here we go. So when someone receives this first email, which is, complete, oh, come on, what are you interested in? If they don't click anything, there's a couple options there. Like we could add an email here that's just like more fun details, and then add survey again, right? So just copy pasting what was on the other one, making sure that the tags work. And then for this one, you would filter out anyone that had already subscribed to some of those tags. Where is that? Subscribe to tags, interest. So that if they did click, the email already, they won't get this email.
Is the filter on that email level? Is that?
This one's on this email level. Yeah.
Yeah. And so one question I had just UX wise, I think I know the answer, but like if you build a sequence and it's got like email, wait a day, email, wait a day, email, wait a day, and let's say based on some filter that you put over all subsequent emails, will it just skip all the other ones and wait? And then will it wait those days? Like will they end up having to wait that time frame?
Oh, you know what? That's a good question, because I think let's go back to sequence because we were kind of in that automation view.
I feel like the answer is no when I've tested it, but it's always stuck in the back of my head.
I think you can specify it. So let's see. Oh gosh. Okay, group sequence 1. Settings.
Yeah, it's the only part that gets clearer when you build like individual emails into the whole tree, because then you have your conditional and then the wait, and then you can kind of like see all the logic all together.
I think the final thing we'll say at the end of the stream is test it. Like put yourself as an example. Make yourself lots of email addresses with +1, +2, +3. Test the different scenarios, because that is the thing about Convertkit. It is so flexible, but yeah, does it exactly work how you expect it to? Not always. Okay, so I think this is the question. So should subscribers added stay in the sequence? Oh, wait, no, that's not it. I'm not sure if I have an answer to that question without Googling it, Drew.
I think for my own testing, I'm pretty sure it does. It doesn't keep you in there for just random days where you're not getting anything.
Yeah,
it's something that is confusing because it's an automation within an automation.
Yeah, that would be definitely something to test. It's like making sure they don't get stuck in this second email because they've been excluded, making sure that they like progress through. Okay. Another option, rather than doing it as a sequence like that, would be to add like email number 2 as just another email in this automation. Which I think we can do actually. I think it's set up that way. Oh, that's not it. I think half this stream is going to be waiting for my computer to load. Unfortunately, there's too much stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's this called? Oh, I don't think I named it, did I? No. New general newsletter. There we are. Okay, so we probably could scrap that second email because now what we're doing, we have everyone who has an interest of event planning, everyone who has the interest of community guidelines, and everyone who has the interest of marketing funnels, and then everybody else. And everybody else would be people who did not click any of those links. So yeah, that probably would be the place that you can put a reminder, a follow-up email. We'd still love to know more about you. We still want to know, what you're interested in, etc. So from this view, you can do a lot of things. One is, adding the email sequence. We'll have to create this. So let's just pretend that one of these emails is about events.
Danielle's trolling us. She's asking us why we don't have Christmas hats. Because I thought of it 2 minutes before we started the stream.
Oh, no.
I can draw one up here.
I'm just going to put a couple emails in here that will pretend are about event planning. So this is what it can be. So let's say the event planning, you have a few emails or a sequence of emails, and that's what you're giving folks. Same for community guidelines. You can add all of this. So if that makes sense of how to easily start with a newsletter subscriber, start with a more general email, and then break it down by topic. These can keep going as far as you want, or you could even create, another email sequence. So once they get through their series of emails, they could get another series. And this could even be getting more specific. Hey, would you ever be interested in leading your own community? Or are you looking to currently engage your community? Or are you looking to build the foundations for your community? So it's like at any point you can give educational resources, or you can give sales pitches, but it can be built within the same sequence as long as the content's evergreen.
Yep. And so for the audience, you can think of it as like, you have another content offering that's specific. You don't have to be as direct and say, hey, what do you want? You can be like, hey, here's a white paper on event planning. And that puts them into the event planning sequence. And maybe if there was more content to be delivered, maybe if you had like a offering on Gumroad, a paid something around event planning, you can sell it through that sequence. And then, you don't want to keep them in a sales funnel forever. So you bring them back into the mainline kind of newsletter content again.
Yes. Okay, so we've been halfway through, which I think is perfect timing to then start talking about targeting emails within the emails themselves. And so this is where I think, Drew, you were mentioning these time-based courses versus evergreen sales pitches. So let's go to, let's go to this email. And use it just as a playground.
Mm-hmm.
We can go to this email too.
This part seems like magic to me. I haven't figured it. I haven't touched any of this before.
Oh my gosh, we'll see how we do. So let's say this is where we want to do some sales pitches. And let's just assign what we have. So I use Notepad because I'm a PC. I'm nerdier than the nerds on this computer, and so I'm using Notepad just to clean up the copy, but that's what works for me. So let's say event planning matches her, let's see, brand community foundations, which is the evergreen email course. The community guidelines matches lead your online community. And that's also an evergreen course, just slightly different. So this one is, I believe, a Podia course, and then the evergreen course is email-based. And then let's see, the engage your online community is about marketing. And this is the one that is cohort-based enrollment open at different times. So the first two will be kind of easy, at least to segment. This third one, engage your online community, we just want to make sure that when we're promoting it, people know if they can register or not. And so one way, like I mentioned at the beginning of this, there's no perfect way for this, like just different ways to do it. One way that I thought to set this up, the automations aren't always linked to emails. Automations can be any activity that you're doing with an email or with a user. So what I created, what did I create? I played with this yesterday. Okay, the engage your online community launch timeline. So for this, I started with, everything has to start with an action. And so since I didn't want to go in and actually change Carrie's data, because what the thought here is that every single person that is part of her Convertkit list would get a tag. And that tag would be related to a custom field that relates to whether enrollment's open or closed for the course. And so if someone has a tag, that doesn't affect them in any way unless it aligns to some sort of automation. And so like everyone in your directory can have a tag, and that's just for like your internal knowledge. And so I put, when a subscriber is tagged with this, which is just like a verb test tag, that there would be an action that took place. And that action is that a custom field, which we've named engage your online community launch, that custom field would be set to close. So that means every single person who gets the tag that every single person gets, as of right now, gets a closed tag because it's currently closed.
And the custom field is on the member or on the user record?
It's on the user record. That was the only way I could. At first, I thought you could create like an event, like an isolated event in Convertkit. And I couldn't find a way to do that. It really has to be like associated with the users or associated with an email sequence. However, there could be a way to do it. I just couldn't figure it out.
Throw that one to the audience if you have a better way to do it.
Yeah.
Put it in the chat.
Let's see. Okay. And so then her next enrollment is in March. So I made a guess that in March 1st, enrollment would be open. So when this date occurs, then the next action would be that this custom field would be set to open. And so that happens to everybody. So everybody who is in the sequence, which should be everyone because there's no exit marker here yet, this would be set to open. And then when registration's closed on this date, then it would be set to close. Now, in theory, Carrie could predict, what her launch dates are for this year, and she can continue to create different events that take place as dates here, and keep it going, plan it for the whole year. I think my one open question, which is a little hard to test without testing it, I guess you can set it up so the event takes place like tomorrow, so you can test it within a few days, is that what happens if this date changes? So let's say everybody, where did we go?
I find, cohort dates do tend to be a little bit fluid.
It's a little bit fluid.
So something that, maybe you could also then have, trying to think how that would work. You could set a date that's like arbitrarily far out to reopen just so the automation doesn't end. And then like add kind of like set it for 2025 and then copy like intermediate blocks in there to open it and close it again.
That's smart. I think the biggest question I had here is when you click this, changing this date will not reset the stats on this item. Stats are cumulative. They will include subscribers of the previous date in addition to the new one. Events will only pull subscribers within the automation forward to this point. Subscribers outside the automation will not be affected. I don't know what that means.
Sounds like you can't be like retroactive, but maybe you could like, so maybe the workflow would then be like create a, if they take your 2025 date, create a new 2025 date, move this one up to like your new date and then your close date.
Yeah, like if people are here, right? Like people, let's say it's March 3rd. Everyone's been set to open. That's good. That worked. She decided to extend enrollment until April 15th. If this date gets changed to April 15th, will all the subscribers here wait till April 15th? And that's the question. And I think that can be tested, like I said, like by setting this 2 days from now and testing it manually. And that is the kind of things that like I don't mind doing. I know that's probably people want to pull their hair out, but it's like those little testing things where it's like, it's hard to really know what this means. Could be Googleable, but I always like to test for myself, honestly.
Yeah, I find the Google explanations are never quite as fit to purpose as what you're trying to do.
Okay, so that's how this, how in theory, everyone would have a custom field that's set to open or close. Now I think I set myself up as a subscriber. I know I'm a subscriber for her staff, but let's see if I've added this tag. Since none of these are active, let's see. We'll just have to manually update. Yeah, I have quite a few. Quite a few. Yes, I've tested a few things in her account before.
You'd be amazed how many people don't know the plus trick with email.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know how I would live without it. Yeah. For folks who aren't aware of this trick, if you add Google doesn't care about anything after a plus symbol in your email, and so if, you want to sign up, Drew at something. If that were my email address, you can do Drew plus whatever you want after that, and you can continue sending different. You can use it like a different email address, and so you can keep testing different things. Yeah, but like my last company, I think I told like 10 people, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. I had no idea you could do that. Like, how do you not know that?
I know at one point in my life, I was creating like fake email addresses. So I have like dozens of Gmails with just fake names, and before I discovered that. Okay, so you can see here that every single member now has this Engage Your Online Community field on their name, right? So it's email address, first name, launch, the EOC launch, last name, null. You can add as many custom fields as you want. And now we have this one. So I've set it to open, even though currently not open, but we'll use me as an example, this email address. Okay, let's talk about Liquid. Okay, so I'll just read this. Conditional content. You can use Liquid to show different content based on whether or not a subscriber has a particular tag. And so, for example, you have to use these very specific symbols, a bracket and a %, and use their very specific versions of descriptors in order to be able to, sort through what kind of tags they have. And so
I've seen Liquid tagging a lot in a lot of different apps. I don't know how is it standard between apps? Is everybody kind of implemented a little differently?
I think this is Convertkit. I think it's Convertkit because it's similar to a lot of search functionality, and Airtable has its own search types, and Excel has their own ways to do it. I haven't seen, maybe Liquid's its own thing and Convertkit uses it, but I don't know if anyone else
seen the curly bracket like % in, even like Mode, which is a data science app. They've got that for like writing things into reports, but I've always wondered how standard it is.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, so let's do an example. So these are the interests, and then the other one was EOC launch. So these are tags. Tags. And then the custom field is EOC launch. Let's say open. Let's start with a tag because that's easier to show at the very beginning. So if subscriber tags contains interest event planning, then we'll say you should buy brand community foundations. But if it doesn't, you say else. So if it's in event planning, else, let's go down to nestled actually. That might not be a conditional else. Else if and nesting. That's what we wanted to see. So you can say if a subscriber, let's copy this. Okay, if the subscriber tag contains interest event planning, then say you should purchase brand community foundations. Or if it contains community guidelines, it's saying, no, you should purchase lead your online community. You could do that again with, actually, let's leave this alone because the other one's time-based and it's kind of slightly different. So if someone has interest event planning, they're going to get a sales pitch for build your brand community foundations. If they have the tag interest community guidelines, they'll buy lead your online community. If they don't have either of those tags, so that includes people who clicked Marketing funnels, it contains people who didn't click anything. Then they'll just say, you can learn more about Carrie, Melissa Jones here, right? It's just something more general, maybe not as targeted. So we can see what this would look like. So we're going to put this up here. And we're going to add
one here, here, here. So I don't think this is going to be, I don't imagine the big part. Yeah.
Okay. So let's say that I filled out that survey and I wanted to know more about community guidelines. So my interest is community guidelines. You can test this and you can see, okay, I wasn't interested in event planning, so it's not going to show this. But I am interested in community guidelines, so it just shows this. Or let's say I have both community guidelines and marketing funnels. I like both. It still only shows the second one because it goes in an order of a hierarchy where it's, if it's this, then it's this, and this is else if. I think that's what the nesting, you can say if a subscriber has 2 tags, show them. If they have this one tag but not the other one, show them this. So you can get really specific by nesting. And then you can always just go and use test my liquid and see what it actually looks like. So once you have this, how you want it to look, all you have to do is go back to the email.
And this is kind of how we're showing it being implemented. So it will have a variety of like wood and metal combos.
We have another conference call in the background, Drew.
Yeah, my wife is an interior designer. She's pretty much always on the phone.
Yeah.
At least no kids have stormed in here yet.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to go to this email too. All you have to do is drop in that text. So when you're looking at your email draft, it's going to look a little funky, right? It's going to look a little funky, but then I think you can preview. And it shows this. I wonder who it. I know there's a way to preview depending on who's by email. I think is it. Okay, so if I'm the one receiving the email, I guess I get it in the mail. Which I have in another browser, another window. Let's see.
I don't think on the bottom, but I'd love to hear the feedback on the top. Imagine it being processed.
Well, I wonder if that's. No, that's not great. So this email showed up to me as, let's see, email 2. You can learn more about C and J here. And I think that's because I didn't actually have any of those tags. If you remember, I put in the open for the course, but not the tag. So that does make sense. So this is like the most, I don't know, simple when you're working with tags. And I say it's simple because it's all right here. The explanations are on the Convertkit page. You just have to play with it, copy, paste, and test it out. Now, with our last few minutes, let's see what this looks like when we do the custom field. And so custom fields are just a little different. So on the bottom here. So what you need to do, so it's subscriber dot, and then you just put in the custom field. It all has to be lowercase and there's no spaces. So you have to do an underscore. In this case, double equal signs means it has to be exact. So it couldn't be, it's all caps. It can't be closed with a space. You know, it can't be spelt wrong. But if this subscriber of the launch is closed, that's when something appears. So let me double check that. Adam Field, so EYOC launch.
And it's also going to have
Open.
a counter.
Oh, and you always have to have a closed.
Yeah, we've also got some like storage under
So
here.
that's just 10.
So really the lighting will be happening
So
here.
N.
But if we're dropping a
It'll probably tell me. And yeah.
In the socket that we drop around the perimeter. I think that would make the most sense. Then you could also look top too. Nice.
It doesn't make sense. So let me.
We need to refresh him.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's correct because it's.
Oh.
It would only show
right.
you a test copy if it was closed, right?
Yeah. All right. There you go.
Ta-da.
So
All that computer science education finally came in handy.
So this is where we can start playing around with the timing. So let's go back to this email. Let's say, okay, so if the subscriber launch is closed, you don't want to put maybe anything. Maybe it's blank. You completely leave it. And then if it's open, it can be
that might be in this space. I think having this box would be good in case we want to
like, oh my God, registration is open.
Yeah, how fancy can you get? Can you just take text in there? Could you put an image in between there? Is it kind of like freeform?
Yeah, I think you can do anything. So you can do, yeah, a button, an image, countdown timer. Probably wouldn't do a countdown timer because if we're talking evergreen, but yeah, you can do whatever you want.
It was good for the, if you knew that the cohort was only going to be open or the cohort sign up is only open for like 3 weeks. It does have a countdown timer. I always find this a little cheesy, but you can.
Yeah. You can actually do. Can you do countdown timers? No, there's probably a way to do it to set a countdown timer and only show if countdown timer is not after this date.
Mm-hmm.
You can nestle these end ifs. I'm going to remove this just because I don't. Oh, wait, we can do it on Splash. So, yeah, look at these cookies.
I'd buy that.
Right? So, my registration's open. Publish. And so, if registration's open, they'll see this. And if it's closed, they won't see anything. And that's how that can work. And the cool thing about this, you can do it in Evergreen, but Carrie can start like making like a footer on all of her broadcasts.
Mm-hmm.
It says, if someone has an interest event planning, there's a set, hey, by the way, did you know I offer this course in event planning? If it's community guidelines, hey, do you know, here's best practices on community guidelines, check it out. And then this, she can just do it all the time of like, so she doesn't have to always remember what's available and what's not. Like you can really segment both by sequences, or if she's like in a flow with broadcasts and the broadcasts are working, like keep doing broadcasts, but just, get your little notepad file, save it, and copy paste in all your emails, or you can even create a template.
Yeah, I really like the idea of having it as a footer in the main template, because then you don't even have to think about it. You just have to make sure everybody gets, their field updated at the right time, that it's updated again at the right time.
Yeah, because I think she has. Oh gosh, I think she has some cool. Yeah, she has email templates already built. For some of for her evergreen email course, that's really great. Probably not for that, but yeah, her CMJ main, she could add the footer of this forever liquid, and if it just wants to be that open closed main course, like her bread and butter package, like include that. So for whatever she sends, we'll always include a little blurb. All right, I think it's that time. I talked for an hour.
Awesome. That was super cool. I had never seen that level of detail before.
Thank you so much. Just make sure it works. Test email to yourself. Realize it may take a day or two to set up a course, because you have to, if you want to see what Convertkit does with the passage of time, day by day, you have to allow for the passage of time. So I think that would be the only thing, is these are set it and forget it, but setting it up does take just a little bit of mapping and testing, and then you're good.
Awesome. So I think next step probably would be to get with Carrie, start to break out that content, understand that Venn diagram. I don't think that would make the best streaming material, so maybe we come back at the next part of the series. You come back and actually walk us through kind of the completed thing, maybe bring Carrie back and talk through it all and see how we did addressing that big chart that we showed at the beginning. Yeah, thanks so much, Steph. This has been it's the last Burb automation show for the year. So
2021 in the books.
Best of luck and happy health to everyone. And thanks so much, Steph.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.